Yes, 2007. Thinking back on this pivotal year for pop culture, big moments come to mind, like, for example, the debut of the first iPhone, Britney Spears shaving her head and attacking a car with an umbrella, or Kanye West and a Mr. 50 Cent beefing over who was going to sell more records first week. But arguably, nothing was quite as monumental as the rise of that year's biggest new rap sensation, a 17-year-old kid from Mississippi named Soulja Boy Tell Em.
Soulja Boy, I finna why me crank it, why me roll? Why me crank that Soulja Boy, that Superman?
Soulja Boy blew up in the summer of '07 when his debut single, Crank That Soulja Boy, hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and the song, as well as its accompanying dance routine, totally swept the nation. Soulja was on top of the game. However, the young Soulja faced a lot of criticism and scrutiny from music critics and hip-hop elites at the time as well, who dismissed his style of doing dance routines to southern snap music as a fad, as ringtone rap, as juvenile, as not real hip-hop.
A lot of people, you're catching criticism with people stating that you're a ringtone artist. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I done killed all that, you know what I'm saying? Everybody been flopping these years, man. Hate to be talking down on me, man. These rappers coming out doing 30 their first week. My album just dropped, you know what I'm saying? Did 120,000 the first week. Broke all the haters, I'm already in the black. So all that ringtone rapping just stopped now. I check the reviews on the internet now.
And it definitely didn't help that Soulja Boy's lyrics were often very simple, rapping about topics like the T-Mobile sidekick or going to buy a pair of Bathing Apes shoes at the mall. Legendary rapper Ice-T even went as far as to say at the time that Soulja Boy was the death of hip-hop.
A brother of my caliber shouldn't be talking down on a youngster your age. But as far as your music goes, it's garbage, you know? And I'm saying that for all the hip-hop, homie.
However, at this point in 2022, 15 years since Soulja Boy initially blew up, if you can believe it, Soulja Boy himself will be the first one to tell you that he was on some truly revolutionary, futuristic shit at the time.
Man, I'm the first rapper on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm the first rapper on Twitch. I'm the first rapper to get signed straight off the internet from high school to a record deal to Jimmy Iovine and Interscope Records for over $1 million.
And he really was the first to do a lot of things differently in the rap game, which gained him big success and ultimately paved the way for countless rappers after him to utilize things like social media and the internet to get off the ground, and new methods of do-it-yourself DIY recording and different types of marketing techniques, which a good majority of the rap game hadn't seen work in a mainstream fashion until the 17-year-old Soulja Boy came along back in 2007.
I like Soulja Boy. I like Soulja Boy a lot.
Today in this video, we're going to briefly go over the history of Soulja Boy and his initial rise to the top with his first album, SouljaBoyTellEm.com. And then in the second half of the video, we're going to go over just what exactly Soulja Boy was doing at the time that was so game-changing and ahead of his time, why it was misunderstood, and how it paved the way for DIY internet rappers as well as just rappers in general after Soulja Boy blew up. Hello, my name is the Cozy Representative, and today I welcome you to how Soulja Boy became the first DIY internet rap superstar. And also, before we get into things, I am getting over a cold right now, so I'm talking a little bit softer than I usually would. I hope my voice isn't too scratchy or nasally. I was sounding like Donald Duck the other day, but I think I'm not completely better, but I'm getting there. Anyways, let's get into the early history of Soulja Boy, shall we? So, in 2005, when Soulja, real name DeAndre Way, was 15, he showed an interest in music and started making instrumental beats on FL Studio on his home computer, Fruity Loops. He also started recording his own raps over those instrumentals, and from late 2005 into 2006, Soulja began posting his early songs, as well as videos of him and his friends doing their own dance routines to Soulja's songs onto the website SoundClick, which was kind of an early precursor to SoundCloud, as well as posting his stuff on, at the time, new big social media sites like MySpace and YouTube.
Yeah, what's up, man? This is nigga Soulja Boy, you know what I'm saying? Y'all think this a game, but this ain't no game, you know what I'm saying? I'm riding big time on the 22s, you know what I'm saying? With the TVs in the back, you know what I'm saying? I got that stats on deck, CD coming soon, you know what I'm saying? Real talk, plus the snap music, you see him right here, you know what I'm saying? All the time, you know what I'm saying? This how I get it. Hey, y'all, look at the rim, man, look at the rim, see that? Ain't no joke, nigga, that's big time right there.
Soulja Boy's entertaining videos as well as his infectious music turned a lot of heads early on just via the internet, and he quickly became an underground rap internet sensation, which was in itself a relatively new concept at the time, back in 2006. I mean, YouTube had only been around for like a year at that point, you know, super early in the game. Eventually, off of the online hype, Soulja Boy released his first mixtape independently in early 2007, which was called Unsigned and Still Major, the album before the album. Some highlights from Soulja Boy's first mixtape include songs like I Got Me Some Bapes and Booty Meat, both of which later appeared on Soulja Boy's first real album and eventually became hits. There's a bunch of pretty interesting tracks on here, including the humorously titled Soulja Boy Ain't Got No Money, as well as one of my personal favorite Soulja Boy songs, Was Hannin'.
Man, tell me what's really going on. Soulja Boy up in this thing, I'm ready. What's happening?
There's even some early versions, actually, of his later big hit, Crank Dat, with songs like Crank Dat Dance and Crank Dat Jump Rope. The musical style in which Soulja Boy was doing at the time was known as snap music, which, at least according to Wikipedia, is a subgenre of hip-hop music derived from crunk that originated in southern United States in the 2000s. It achieved mainstream popularity throughout the mid to late 2000s, but declined shortly thereafter. Tracks commonly consist of an 808 bass drum, hi-hat, bass, snapping, a main groove, and a vocal track. Many snap songs may also incorporate whistling. Crunk has been called the predecessor of snap. Hip Hop DX magazine described snap music as a laid-back version of its forebearer, crunk music. So that's the tip that Soulja Boy was on. A good example of a big pre-Soulja Boy snap song would be Lean With It, Rock With It by Dem Franchise Boys, big hit.
Lean with it, rock with it, lean with it, rock with it, lean with it, rock with it, lean with it.
So, around the time of the release of Soulja Boy's debut mixtape, Unsigned and Still Major, Soulja also released a song called Crank That Soulja Boy online, as well as a video giving instructions on how to do the Soulja Boy dance along with the song. Now, unexpectedly for young Soulja Boy, who is still around 16, 17 at this time, the song absolutely blew up online, as well as the dance, and an early internet viral trend broke out, consisting of kids across the nation, eventually all over the world, filming themselves doing the Soulja Boy dance with their friends and uploading the videos onto the internet. Sounds pretty similar to what goes on nowadays in 2022 on TikTok, right? And this was in 2007, you know? The Soulja Boy dance was eventually called the biggest dance fad since the Macarena.
When I say Superman, y'all say, oh, Superman, Superman. What's it on the mouth? We're gonna do it like this. Play that crank there, man. Here we go. Hey, y'all do the dance with me. Here we go. Y'all sing, I need y'all singing with me. Here we go. Y'all singing with me.
phenomenon this song has become, huh? How did this all start, and were you surprised?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's just something I was doing at home.
Just something you were doing at home?
Yeah, it's spread worldwide right now. It's crazy.
Okay, how's this go now?
Oh, my goodness. Y'all know how to do the Soulja Boy dance?
We don't.
I've watched it a million times, and I still can't get the hops right.
So after the Crank That song and the Soulja Boy dance started exploding online, Soulja, who was still unsigned and still major, you know, he really called it, he was taken to the next level when he was discovered by a hip-hop producer and businessman from Atlanta, Georgia named Mr. Collie Park, who played a major role in the Yin Yang Twins' career, as well as several other big names in the rap world. Mr. Collie Park got in touch with Soulja Boy. He liked what Soulja had going on. He saw something in Soulja. Mr. Collie Park got Soulja Boy signed to major label Interscope Records, and from there it was off to the races in 2007 for Soulja Boy.
How did you link up with Mr. Collie Park and actually get your deal?
A DJ by the name of Freddie Hydro from Memphis, Tennessee, gave him one of my singles. I had a single called I Got Me Some Bathing Apes, and he gave him the single, he listened to it, he liked it. He was asking who I was, so they showed him the MySpace page, he saw the MySpace page, he saw all the views, all the fans. He thought it was fake, so he was asking everybody about me or whatever, and then they knew who I was, so he got my contact information off the MySpace page, came to my house and signed me like that same week, and I got my deal to Interscope Records like the following week after that.
So Soulja Boy's debut single through the major label Interscope, Crank That Soulja Boy, officially came out on May 2nd of 2007, but like I said earlier, the song and its accompanying dance routine had already begun to blow up on the internet before its official label release. After the official release of the single, the song continued to absolutely just blow the fuck up even harder. It became a total pop culture youth phenomenon and took the world by storm. It was a huge craze almost instantly after being released on the major label. The song spent 7 weeks at #1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 in the fall of '07. It was nominated for Best Rap Song at the Grammy Awards that year. It lost to Good Life by Kanye West. Less than a year after it was released, it became the first song ever to sell 3 million digital copies in the U.S. It peaked in the top 10 in charts worldwide in places like Australia, Belgium, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK.
Has it hit you yet, like how big it is, you know, when you see the millions of people doing your dance and everything else?
Well, when I really knew that it was like big, when I seen Beyonce doing it, and then when I seen the video.
People don't know, she doing it on her tour, right?
Yeah, she doing it, she on tour right now, she doing it at every show, it's a part of her show now. But when I seen her do it, the first time I seen her do it, I was like, okay, this is it, that record.
Soulja Boy, big hoe. Why me crank it, why me roll? Why me crank that Soulja Boy, that Superman?
And in late 2009, it was named the 23rd most successful song of the 2000s on the Billboard Hot 100 Songs of the Decade. Absolutely huge. Soulja Boy's debut album produced 3 more singles following the big breakout hit. Those other singles were Soulja Girl, which was a top 40 hit, Ya, which peaked at number 48 on the Hot 100, and Donk, which hit number 22 on the Hot Rap Songs Billboard chart. Now, the actual official debut Soulja Boy Tell Em full-length album called SouljaBoyTellEm.com, a title which both referenced his initial rise on the internet as well as a way to, I guess, promote his website. I don't know, it's pretty funny. Was released through Interscope Records on October 2nd of 2007.
So, your album is coming out?
October the 2nd, SouljaBoyTellEm.com in stores. It's gonna be crazy.
Just out of curiosity, is it going to be called .com on the album?
Yeah.
Really? Word?
Yeah.
What made you guys make your album title a website?
Before my record deal, I got my success through the internet. Like I had 10 million hits on the site before my record deal. If I name my album SouljaBoyTellEm.com, it's going to be like the website. So the website going to be like the CD, like that, back and forth.
And it was released following the huge national worldwide blow-up of the Crank That single, so it debuted at an astonishing number 4 on the Billboard 200 and sold a whopping 117,000 copies in its first week of release. So, although the album was loved by the youth and by Soulja Boy's fans at the time, like many misunderstood, ahead-of-their-time masterpieces, the album received an overwhelmingly negative response from critics at the time. One big criticism was of how simple and primitive Soulja's instrumental beats were, with one critic comparing his instrumentals to sounding like bargain bucket old Nokia ringtones. Critics were also harsh on Soulja Boy for his simplistic lyrical style, saying things like, the album is a teenage wasteland filled with monotonously looped chants and agonizing blunt force beats. Or, the beats are a mishmash of shitty keyboard loops and samples from Crank That. The lyrics, if you can call them that, are rarely no more than the song titles repeated at different tempos. I just want to say the thing most critics may not have realized about Soulja Boy's early lyrics, however, is that Soulja was way more of a, I don't know, like a dance routine coordinator at this time, as opposed to a guy who's trying to show you what a great lyricist he is. And most of his instrumentals and lyrics were kind of more meant to be backgrounds for his dances. His lyrics revolved a lot more around saying the names of his dance steps in a repetitive fashion, again, as opposed to trying to show off what a skilled lyricist Soulja Boy was. And that, you know, and it was also kind of just a common thing in sort of the crunk and snap music style at the time, you know. It was a little trendy to just, you know, kind of repeat phrases over and over again in a rap song.
Let me hit that freestyle for him one time. I'm telling you, real niggas fuck up. If you ever seen a nigga do a whole freestyle and ain't fuck up, I give him props, cause I be fucking up. Cause I'm on some other type shit. I'm on some do your dance and snap your finger type shit. But I still get on this freestyle shit one time. Soulja Boy Tell Em, yeah!
So anyways, before we move on to why Soulja Boy was so next level and ahead of his time in this era, real quick, I do have to highlight some absolute gems on this first Soulja Boy album, Soulja Boy Tell Em. So like I was mentioning earlier, songs like Sidekick and Bapes are straight up anthems for youth culture materialistic crazes at the time. The former, Sidekick, being an ode to the popular phone at the time, the T-Mobile Sidekick, and the latter, Bapes, being an ode to one of Soulja Boy's favorite shoes, Bathing Apes, and, you know, about the joys of going to the mall and getting a fresh new pair of kicks. He had songs of teenage lust, shining light on the timeless beauty of women's rear ends on tracks like Donk and Booty Meat. Lyrical gold on those ones, I'll tell you. He had a song about getting bad grades on Report Card, and a song about becoming famous and getting tired of everyone being all up in your face all the time on Ya. A surprisingly beautiful and heartfelt love song from Soulja Boy came in the form of Soulja Girl. You know, great title, of course, Soulja Boy. There's got to be a, you know, look, he's looking for his Soulja Girl. And Soulja even passed it over to his best friend and kind of his sidekick during this time, A-Rab, on the track Pass It to A-Rab. Critics and hip-hop aficionados and old heads at the time may not have liked this album or Soulja Boy very much, but again, the kids loved it and it was huge, and if you ask me, SouljaBoyTellEm.com is a true relic of its time. Looking back, it's just a fun-ass album which was as catchy as it was surprisingly ahead of its time. So, my friends, it is now time to get into just what exactly made Soulja Boy so revolutionary and ahead of his time during this era of 2007 and 2008 when he blew up. So, Soulja Boy was huge in the youth market, However, like I've been saying, he certainly got clowned on at the time by critics and hip-hop old heads for being generally goofy and looked at as a silly fad. He was not looked at as real hip-hop. However, now, 15 years later, looking back, Soulja Boy is genuinely, unironically looked back on as being extremely influential on modern hip-hop. His early career is now regarded as kind of a game-changing turning point for the rap game, the start of a new modernized, digital, and in a lot of ways more DIY era. And what Soulja Boy was introducing to everybody really paved the way for so many young rappers after him who embody and follow what he introduced to the game. So, the most obvious thing that Soulja Boy pioneered in the rap world was his utilization of the internet and early social media to promote himself, to connect with his audience on a more personal level, and get his career off the ground, and keep it off the ground. Before Soulja Boy came along, sure, you know, rappers used the internet here and there. Paul Wall had the internet going nuts, but most rappers were still presenting themselves and embodying, you know, the kind of caricature of old school rock stars of yesteryear, you know, mysterious, unapproachable, almost mythological in their lack of one-on-one connection with their fans. You know, they were like enigmas, you know, big mythological creatures. Soulja Boy's early successful use of sites like YouTube and MySpace to promote himself and connect with his audience showed OG rappers in the game that this was the new wave and the internet was here to stay, and you were either going to get on it or you were going to be left behind with the times. And Soulja Boy has been noted as kind of the first artist to show everybody that. For example, back in 2010, a situation happened where Soulja Boy's third album, The DeAndre Way, was selling poorly and not doing very well, and Soulja was feeling bad about it and was actually considering quitting music at the time. Here's what his OG and mentor, 50 Cent, reportedly told Soulja at that time. Quote, 50 was like, "You've got to keep doing what you're doing. You're Soulja Boy. You're here for a reason. Everybody's not going platinum. Everybody didn't do what you did. Everybody didn't come in on the internet. You're the one that started the internet. You're the one that got me on the internet. You're the one that got us on blogs, on YouTube, and on Twitter." I was like, man, you know what? You're right. So that's 50 Cent. And as I said, Soulja Boy also paved the way for heavyweights in the game after him. Think about it. Do you think guys like Lil B or Tyler the Creator or, you know, even people like Young Lean or whatever would have had the same presence in the game if Soulja Boy hadn't introduced the concept of being a DIY internet rapper back in 2006? You know, I especially think the SoundCloud era obviously took so many cues from Soulja Boy's influence on the game. I even, you know, I've always kind of thought of Ray Shremmerd, the group, as being kind of an evolved version of what Soulja Boy initially laid down. In fact, fun fact, both of the Ray Shremmerd guys actually started out in a group called Dem Outta State Boys back in 2009-ish, and they were literally little Soulja Boy copycats when they started out, doing catchy, poppy snap rap songs with choreographed dance routines.
Okay, I like to party, you like to party. I like what she likes and she likes to party. I'm a party anybody,
In fact, just a side note, you know, relating to that, after Soulja Boy broke in 2007, there was a whole wave of Soulja Boy sound-alikes introducing their own dance routines in 2008 and 2009. You had the GS Boys coming out with the stanky leg. You had the New Boys popularizing the jerk. It was a whole wave.
You're a jerk. I know. You're a jerk. I know.
So one thing which I think really added to Soulja Boy being revolutionary was his utilization of guerrilla marketing techniques, or oddball, counterintuitive, you know, creative and unique marketing techniques. His most famous one, most infamous one, and his funniest, guerrilla marketing technique for sure, was how he would put his songs up on peer-to-peer file sharing websites like Napster and LimeWire, except he would change the title of the MP3 of his song to things like In the Club by 50 Cent or other hits at the time.
People like ain't really buying albums no more. Like people like download them for free or whatever. So like I take like the Crank the Soulja Boy song and put it on the internet, right? And like whatever the #1 song was, like on the Billboard or on TV or whatever, like say if it was 50 Cent in the club,
right?
And like everybody downloading or whatever. So like I took Crank the Soulja Boy and renamed it like 50 Cent in the club and put it up. And then everybody was downloading and downloading and downloading and bam, bam, hitting it. And like to get the other crowd to listen to it, like Britney Spears or people who listen to Fergie or whatever, I renamed it that or whatever and just put a whole bunch of them up. So everybody was downloading like millions of people. And it got up to like 8 million plays before I got my deal.
Soulja Boy definitely was not the first person to, he didn't invent guerrilla marketing tactics in the music industry, but I think his LimeWire antics showed that he had a real knack for finding cutting-edge, new, different and modern ways of promoting yourself as an up-and-coming artist, which I think, is a really important part of establishing yourself as an artist nowadays, So he kind of set an example there of being on the pulse of digital marketing. It's real simple. Soulja Boy was DIY as hell. Now, before Soulja Boy, it was expected that you needed to go into a big, expensive studio with a high-level producer in order to produce a hit rap song. Soulja Boy's first album, however, SouljaBoyTellEm.com, well, it's been said that he made the whole album on his PC computer using just a demo version of FL Studio, Fruity Loops.
Like I did Crank that, right, on this program called Fruity Loops. Probably took me like 10 minutes to make it. And everybody know like I made like $10 million off of the song Crank That. So they was like, man, he used this simple demo. I had the demo version. I ain't even buy the program. I downloaded the demo version. And like he used this demo version to make this song that went #1 and it was made all this money. He's so lucky, blah, blah, blah. I got Fruity Loops. I'll show you something. I got Fruity Loops on here, which is where I made all my old hits. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna show you something. Over here on Fruity Loops, if you don't know what Fruity Loops is, it's like when you hear a beat like this.
And it shows, right? The beats on the album go hard, but they really do sound like old Nokia ringtones. My girlfriend jokes that the album sounds like it was, played on a Fisher-Price keyboard or something like that. But yeah, I mean, come on. A song that became one of the biggest rap hits of the decade was recorded by a 17-year-old kid at home on his computer. I mean, what more needs to be said? I mean, shit. Going back to the SoundCloud rap era or other artists like Lil B and stuff, DIY internet rap. Come on, Soulja Boy was the first one. I mean, if he wasn't the first one to ever do it, he probably, I don't think he was the first one ever, but he was the first one to get as big as he did doing it, which is kind of as big as you can possibly get at the time, and really opening up that lane in the game for future artists to follow. He made the mark, he showed everybody, he set the standard. He did it, man. And he did it real big. So, obviously Soulja Boy did not invent the concept of branding and marketing, but his genius use of branding himself, whether it was intentional or not, he had it down to a science and set an expert example of how to brand and market yourself as a memorable rapper, artist, whatever, for others to follow in the future. Obviously, at the time, he had his outfits. Clothes about 8 sizes too big for him. Baggy clothes were definitely hot at the time. But Soulja, you know, he took it to the next level. He had the really, really baggy. His sunglasses, which had Soulja Boy written on them, absolutely iconic, unique, and memorable. You know, he was basically like a walking action figure. He even had all these catchphrases, which he repeated all over his album, all over his songs, kind of like how Lil Jon had "Yeah" and "Okay." Soulja Boy had "You" and
"Man, I got me some Bathing Apes."
And
"Yeah, trick ya!"
You know, he was like a cartoon character. I don't know. Absolutely brilliant marketing tactics. "You!" So the last thing that I want to touch on, which was a big factor in what made Soulja Boy tick, what made him hot, what made him game-changing and revolutionary, was that at the time, he was the absolute ultimate embodiment of youth culture in 2007 and 2008. I mean, he was 17 years old, right? He was youth culture, because he was the youth. Again, writing entire songs about the T-Mobile sidekick and buying a pair of Bapes at the mall, and, you know, kids could really relate to him, just everything about him, the way he spoke, the way he looked, the way he carried himself. It, you know, it made old people fucking mad. And I think he really showed people that even if critics and your elders in the game hate it, it's really not a bad thing to be so in touch with current youth culture, because it can connect with the youth around the world and it can make your music blow up. And, you know, if you're in touch with the youth culture of whatever era you're a part of, you can potentially be emblematic of the times and possibly truly game-changing, you know? At the time, Ice-T made headlines for saying something along the lines of Soulja Boy is the death of hip-hop, or something like that. And there's this classic video, it's pretty funny, of Soulja Boy and his friends listening to Ice-T say this and like laughing at him.
Fuck Soulja Boy, eat a dick. This nigga single-handedly killed hip-hop. Soulja Boy, let me talk about Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy, I know you're young enough to be my kid, but you single-handedly killed hip-hop, man. You know what I'm saying? I can't fucking from it. All that shit is such garbage. You can't do that, man. We came all the way from Rockham, okay? We came all...
Man, fuck all that. Look at here. This nigga Ice-T old as fuck, man. This nigga old enough to be my great-grandfather now. He's the forefather of my nuts, nigga. This nigga...
That nigga was born, man.
Hey, now, we Wikipedia this nigga. This nigga was born in 1958.
It was kind of this whole big thing back and forth. I don't know. It was pretty funny. But years later, actually, in an interview that I found, Ice-T reflected on his words about Soulja Boy and about how he regrets, you know, coming down on Soulja Boy like that, and admits to basically, you know, he was just being a grouchy old man about Soulja Boy. And in this interview clip, Ice-T made a really important note about how Soulja Boy was emblematic of youth culture at the time and what exactly that meant.
I regret it because, first off, now when I look back at it, music is taste and it's also age brackets. So when Soulja Boy and them are 18, 16, 17, how am I in my 40s, 50s supposed to really relate to what they're singing about? Right. They're singing about that age bracket. Right. So when you're a 16-year-old kid, you're singing about a new bike. You're singing about new Jordans. That's your life. If me and you are singing, you might be singing about the price of jet fuel because you got a private jet. Your life is in a whole nother thing. So to make a comment on the young music, it's invalid because we're not in that place. Right. You understand? So I was out of pocket because I was in a different age bracket that shouldn't have been commenting on that age bracket. But it looked more malicious than it was. It looked like I just woke up out of my bed and just said, yo, I'm just gonna take off on this little nigga. It wasn't meant to be like that.
So thank you guys. That's all I got for you today. I had been meaning to make a video about Soulja Boy for a long time because, you know, in the era of the 2000s, he really was such a big cultural figure and introduced a lot to the rap world and just kind of the world of mainstream music in general with, like I was saying, his kind of DIY ethics and his use of the internet and all that. Very influential on hip-hop and mainstream music, and you know, really paved the way for a lot of people after him. And I think in the future, you know, if you guys like this video, I might make another video about Soulja Boy, about kind of the decline of Soulja Boy and how he kind of fell from grace from, like, at least the mainstream music world, because he's still been going, you know, he's been in the game this whole time, but you know, after his third album, The DeAndre Way, he kind of, you know, he kind of fell off a little bit. So I might revisit Soulja Boy in the future. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. As always, a big thank you and shout out to anyone who supports the channel on Patreon. It's a real big help. There's bonus content on there. And as I've been saying, I have a new podcast that I'm going to be putting up real soon, launching real soon. And there's going to be a bunch of bonus, you know, podcast stuff on the Patreon. Thank you to everyone who supports on Patreon. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. It's been the Cozy Representative. Have a good one. Peace out.